As I said, I could get a show if you pay attention and listen to me. So I guess I did fire you and Jordan. Someone like Tom Smith made you notice him as soon as he walked into a room. Not only did his voice sound funny, but he also took broken cars and made people laugh while he did it. This is why a lot of people thought things were going his way, but the cameras didn't show how quickly things changed. Now comes the easy question that everyone asks. What went wrong with the man who used to look like he could do no wrong? The answer is much sadder than anyone thought it would be. What you need to know about Misfit Garage. You could watch Misfit Garage on the Discovery Channel. It was a reality show that grew out of the famous show Fast and Loud. A group of skilled workers liked the idea and decided to open their own shop after they left Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas, Texas. Tom Smith and Jordan Butler were two of those workers. Thomas Weeks and Scott McMillan also worked there. They started a new business together called Fired Up Garage. This was the main point of the show. Misfit Garage had its premiere on October 13, 2014. It was made by Pilgrim Studios, and Craig Piligian, Richard Rawlings, and Eddie Roeder were the show's executive creators. Craig Kaufman was also the producer in charge of the Discovery Channel. Let's talk about Tom Smith now, because what we saw on TV is just as interesting as his real life. Tom was born in Ohio, but he moved to Georgia and spent a lot of his childhood there. Tom was always interested and active, even when he was a little boy. He liked taking things apart just to see how they worked. They were hard for him to put back together most of the time, but that didn't stop him. The urge to learn was always there in him. He wasn't afraid to mess up either. Tom knew a lot about books and words. He went to a Georgia high school close to home and even came in third place at the state spelling bee. Tom, on the other hand, never did what everyone else did. He often got into trouble because he liked to do things his own way. From a very young age, Tom worked with his uncle in the family shop, which is where he first became interested in cars. He made a choice when he was about 10 years old that became one of the most memorable parts of his life. In 1974, Tom's uncle owned a Pontiac Granville, and Tom chose to take it for a drive one day. Because he was only a kid and had never driven before, this choice did not turn out well. The police pulled him over for joyriding while he was driving around, but he didn't stop. Instead, he crashed into the police car. No one was badly hurt, thank goodness. But Tom got a good old-fashioned spanking from his uncle when he got home, and that memory stuck with him. Tom moved in with his grandma when he was 12 years old. When he finished high school, he went back to Ohio and opened a car shop in a rough part of town. At this time, he was surrounded by Chevy fans. Tom didn't follow the crowd. Instead, he bought a 1967 Ford Galaxie XL convertible. When people asked him why, he gave an amazing reason. He told me not to take a Chevy over a cliff with him, so I bought a Ford. Tom was married and had a child at this point. When Tom was young, Carl Parsons, a master mechanic known in Ohio race circles for being able to get the most power out of an engine, had a big impact on his life. Carl thought Tom had a lot of promise, so he took him under his wing and taught him how to build and fix cars. Tom also liked to figure things out, and he often said that fixing cars was one of his favorite things to do. He once said that he feels bad for mechanics these days because it's so hard to figure out computer problems like it was when engines were simple and beautiful. Tom then said that you still have to reset a computer when you do something as easy as fixing brakes. When you opened the hood back then, motors looked like works of art. He missed how great old cars looked and how well they were made. Tom moved around a lot for a while and even worked on TV towers before he finally made it to Texas. He learned how to be a good driver at Driver's Edge in Texas, where he worked on hot rods for about 4 years. He became known for making cars easier to drive and better at what they were supposed to do to an unheard of degree. Tom is the type of person who never makes content with average work. With every build, he tries to go further and make something better. His favorite cars were the 1964 Ford Thunderbolt and the 1965 Shelby Cobra. He worked on a lot of different cars over the years. Have you ever thought about why? Well, these cars are all about style and speed. He finally got to Gas Monkey Garage, which was a turning point in his trip. Since his funny and unique attitude made him stand out on the Discovery show Fast and Loud, which millions of people loved, Tom became a part of it. But his time at Gas Monkey was over when he left the show and the shop. Tom didn't stay down though. When Misfit Garage opened, he quickly found another chance and joined the new team at Fired Up Garage. He stayed true to his roots as a Ford guy, even though most of his co-workers liked Chevy car brands. Tom liked many types of cars though. He talked about the Chrysler fine car age in the late 1950s and early 1960s with this artistic side. He really liked Virgil Exner's designs and thought the style, lines and flow of those cars were unique. You should know that Tom is very good at dealing cars, but he also said he used to be a great drawer, and now he views himself as a good drawer. His art has taken up whole walls in friends' homes. To make big works of art that surprised everyone, which sometimes took about 200 Sharpies. How Tom Smith has changed over time. When it comes to custom auto shops, Gas Monkey Garage is the second most famous after Loud. The show has been on the Discovery Channel for 14 seasons from 2012 to 2020. People knew about the shop because of its unique car builds and its owner, Richard Rawlings, who has always been a big part of the show. Remember that Tom used to work for Gas Monkey Garage. The story of Tom Smith's leaving Gas Monkey starts in 2014, when something out of the blue changed everything for him and Jordan Butler. When asked later, Tom told TMZ that the trouble began with Richard Rawlings' Rolls-Royce. The shop manager was very angry that Tom and Jordan let a customer take a picture next to the Rolls. They were confronted by the boss in a harsh way, and things quickly got worse. Instead, Tom yelled at the boss, and soon after, both he and Jordan were fired. Afterward, Richard told TMZ that they were making trouble at the shop, but Tom had a different opinion. He thought that things could have been done better, so much so that Jordan said in a Discovery Channel movie that it was the only time in his life he had ever been fired. He said that what the boss did was completely unreasonable. He also said it didn't make sense to be fired for calling your boss names. Fans of Misfit Garage know that there has always been trouble between the cast of the show and the Gas Monkey team. Since Misfit Garage first aired in 2014, this feud has been a big topic of conversation. People still don't know what started all the fighting. Since both shops worked on similar projects, it would be easy to think it was just business rivalry. But the truth is that it was more than that. Tom Smith, on the other hand, changed after he was fired. At one point he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. He even said he was like Bill Gates, who was fired before they became famous. To make things better, Tom and Jordan teamed up with Scott McMillan, who had also worked at Gas Monkey before, and Thomas Weeks, who was also a skilled engineer. They started Fired Up Garage together, which led to the creation of Misfit Garage, a new show that debuted on the Discovery Channel in October. It may have sounded easy to open a new shop, but it wasn't. Fired Up Garage had to deal with a lot of problems right from the start. It wasn't as big as Gas Monkey and didn't have as many resources or fans, so it was hard to get customers and meet their needs. Things were already hard enough without having to deal with criticism and backlash from die-hard Fast and Loud fans. After Tom and Jordan were fired, things between the two businesses got worse because it became personal. The founders picked the name Fired Up Garage so that the initials would form the letters FU, which many people saw as a direct message to their old boss. The name of the show, Misfit Garage, also made it clear that these were people who didn't fit with Richard's plans for Gas Monkey. People from both sides talked back and forth in public, in interviews and on social media. Richard Rawlings and the Odd Garage crew once said that the other group was lying and doing things that were not right. Even more people watched both shows because of these fights, which caused drama that fans closely watched. It also made both shows more famous because people were interested in what would happen next. There were also rumors that each garage was trying to hire workers from the other garage. The media made a lot of guesses about who would be the first to leave the ship. One of the biggest stories was about Aaron Kaufman, the well-known driver from Gas Monkey. A lot of people thought he might leave to join the team at Fired Up Garage, which was said to make Richard Rawlings nervous. What made you think Tom left and chose to open a new garage? Let's look at how much Tom really loved cars. Tom Smith really loves cars, because the metric system was meant to scare people and cause chaos. It would never have a metric bolt in it. Have you ever seen a mechanic who loved old cars so much that a single bolt would make him lose it? This episode shows Tom Smith getting angry while working on an old engine. The way he spoke makes it easy to understand who he is and what matters most to him. In the beginning, he said he had to take something off the motor. Then he talked about how surprised he was when he found what he thought was a strange situation. Tom talked about going out into this great land. He called it great with pride to look for new parts, but then he realized something wasn't right. To show how worried he was, he said "I say" several times. This shows how strongly he felt about what he was seeing. What made him mad was that the motor he was working on had a 16mm bolt or fitting on it. Tom said this was a big surprise because a metric pin or thread should never be found on an old American engine. From what he knew, motors from that time were made using normal American sizes, like 916 instead of metric ones. He wasn't just making a technical point when he talked about this. In addition, it showed how he felt about how the auto business had changed over time. His words showed that the metric system scared him and that he thought it was hard to understand for engineers who were used to the American system. He thought that cars made in the past showed a certain level O,